Hello everyone, it's James from Keeping It Anime, and today we've got a lot to talk about in episode 29 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Now, to start off with, I just want to mention the intro and outro of this new season. So, start with the opening. The opening actually gave us a little bit to look at and a reintroduction to all the characters that we've seen in the past. So, our main hero Anakatashi, Atagawa, Dazai, Chuya, the leader of the guild, Kyoko. Many different characters came back in this intro, so it's nice to see that we're actually going back into modern time in terms of this series' timeline. Now, the music for this was brilliant, the visuals effects for the opening were great as well. Now the outro. The outro itself was very emotional. There's a lot of emotion packed into it. So we saw a lot of people crying, whether they're happy or sad, or just stretching out a hand, begging for help. And the music went along so nicely with this. Now yes, there were reused animation and clips from this outro, most specifically from Season 2 and the movie. However, they blended so nicely together that you just couldn't fault it. So, for that reason, I really like the intro and outro that we're getting for this season. Okay, so now the episode, the main bulk. The main focus of this episode was to give us, the viewer, the kind of a threat level that the new villain is going to possess. And boy, this episode delivered that. This episode basically showed us that this new character, kind of new. Do you remember the character at the end of Season 2? Well, his name is... I'm going to butcher a name now. Frydor? That's F-Y-O-D-O-R. Also known as Demon. Now, I'm going to refer to him as the Demon because that's what Dazai refers to him as in Season 2. And I went over the English dub of Season 2, episode 24, which is his first appearance, and nobody used his real name, so I can't get a translation for that. And when I put it onto Translator, it comes out horribly. So we're going to refer to him as a demon for the time being. Now, when we first got introduced to him back in Season 2, we were told his ability is called Crime and Punishment. Little is known about this ability, and even this episode doesn't help us identify what actually goes on with it. But from the looks of this episode, it looks to be an instant death when he touches somebody. So basically he's Saitama, but with good looking hair. Now, my theory / thought on his power, it was heavily implied throughout this episode that he can suck the soul out of people. Like, he can basically drain people. Now, I kind of don't believe this 100% because we find out in this episode that he lied to his captors once he got captured. So this might be fake information because this is what comes from the person that captures him. But if we go on the assumption that that part was the only part that was true, then his ability could judge the soul of a character. And if that soul is corrupt or has any malice in it, then that character could go bye-bye. Kind of like we saw with the kid at the end of this episode. And everybody else that was affiliated with the kind of antagonist. But it was the antagonist to make the antagonist look good. And that person is known as the Gambler. Now, the Gambler is said to be someone who got on the bad side of the Port Mafia by destroying one of their casinos. But he is now revealed to be an executive member of the Port Mafia because he bought his way into it. Now, I mentioned that this demon basically manipulated his captors in telling that his ability was something that it wasn't, and told them fake weaknesses and information about that said ability. Now, the reason why he did this was so he could trick the Gambler into letting his guard down, so that he could take him out get the keys, and get some important information. But how did he do this? Well, this episode made it very clear that what makes this character so deadly and so terrifying as a villain, this demon character, is not his ability or his gift, it's his intelligence level. Now, we all know that Dazai is a very intelligent character. He can come up with plenty of schemes on the fly, but that's because of his experience and the tasks and stuff he's had to do with the Port Mafia and with the group that he's with now. However, this new villain, the demon, is just as intelligent, or if not more intelligent, than Dazai in this type of situation. And if you go back to season 2 at the end, even Dazai states that he can't take down this demon. Even the power of him and Chuya together, back in their prime, wouldn't have been enough to stop him now. Now, some information I forgot to mention real quick is that this demon character is also said to be the leader of the rats, of the House of Dead. And is also the bloke that, if you don't remember, tried to crash the Moby Nick at the end of season 2 after Ana Takashi and Otagawa got the remote back to stabilize it. Okay, fine. Okay, so all that. So yes, with this misinformation that he spread about his ability and his powers, he got himself into a room with the gambler and basically got inside his head and made him believe that he was controlling his consciousness and the space within it, and they'd been transported into another sort of like space or realm inside his mind. Now, the reason as to how he does this is because he doesn't actually do that. Instead, what he does is he uses wine when he's on his own to break the clock to stop the hands from moving. Okay, he puts a piece of the cork from the bottle in the door to stop the lock from opening. Bit iffy with that one, because if the lock doesn't open from the inside and it was set up before the gambler came in, surely the gambler couldn't have got into the room, but oh well. And he also memorized the faint scratches on every single playing card in a deck of cards, because they were playing a game as to where it was higher or lower, and they had to guess, and the person who guessed more would win. If the demon lost, then he would have to work for the gambler, which meant he had to put on a weird collar that linked to the power of the gambler, that meant that his life could be forfeit at any time so that the gambler could get more money. That was the gift that the gambler possessed. Quite a boring gift if you ask me, but it works for his character, I suppose. And if he won, he got to go free. So he wins the game, and he gets inside the gambler's head, and basically the weakness isn't implied or said, but you can kind of gather that the weakness was that if you wake yourself up while you're in your own mind by killing yourself, then you wake up in reality when you're unconscious. In reality, as they explained it. So this is probably why we saw the gambler hang himself, but because it wasn't fake and it was reality, the gambler died. Now, this seemed like a lot of planning and a lot of hassle for something, and this thing must be important. It turns out all of this was to gain access to a vault, and in this vault was money, but for the most part what the demon was after was the documents entailing the Port Mafia's members and the information about their gifts and abilities. It also has the top secret information about the gift/ability of the boss of the Port Mafia. Now, obviously, as the episode goes, we don't hear what that is, so we'll have to speculate for later on. But because of the intro, we can have a small guess, although it is a very ridiculous guess. But I might say, but to elaborate on that, we see the Port Mafia boss and the boss/head of the other organisation that our heroes are part of, they kind of cross over with each other. And then a weird cat appears. So I don't know if they fuse together and create this cat due to their ability, or if the ability of the Port Mafia's leader is to transform into a cat. Because we all know that the abilities of the leader of the heroes group is to help control the powers that are affiliated with him in one way or another. Now, there's a bit of a silly, wacky out there idea, but it's something to consider. Now, in terms of the intro, I might go over that in a separate video, going over the different clips and what we see in weeks to come. But I'll see what I find in there and see if it's worth talking about before I, state whether or not I would do that for definite. But overall, this episode did its job correctly. It had the main focus of showing us just how much of a threat this demon is, and it did that in straight flushes, which, yes, that's a pun, because they were playing poker, and it's all based on cards, this episode. I tried it. It probably didn't work. Forget about it. And for me, it really was interesting, and I'm invested in this new villain, because if he starts out like this, and he's only going to develop further, I want to see where that's going to take. Now, if you want to see that as well, let me know down in the comment section down below. I look forward to hearing what you thought about this new villain. Do you like him? Do you dislike him? So overall, the animation was pretty good. The music was solid. And I love the structure this episode had. It felt like a bit of a mystery type of thing. Because we kind of thought, hold on a minute, we know this character, but he was said to have a different ability. But now you're telling us he's got this, so it kind of tricks us as the viewer as well a bit. Unless you're one of those smart people that never get tricked, which we all know that's a lie. Come on, guys. And, it led us as a viewer into a false line of security, much like it led the characters within the show. Because I'm not going to lie, I forgot about this character. So, I actually thought he was someone new. I'm not going to lie with that. And, yeah, so it had that very good effect, and it kept to the aim and focus of the actual episode itself, and I can only applaud it for that. So, with that out of the way, guys, that's been my review of episode 29 of Bungo Stray Dogs. If you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me, and until next time, I hope you all have a good day, and keep it anime.